Good evening, everybody. This is the monthly Monroe Township Board of Education meeting for Wednesday, October 16th, 2024. Can everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Allen, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Here.
Ms. Bora?
Here.
Ms. DePayne?
Here.
Ms. Fabiano?
Here.
Dr. Peck?
Here.
Mr. Pirro?
Here.
Ms. Ratner?
Here.
Ms. Sharma?
Here.
Mr. Tufano?
Here.
Mr. Zeichner? Yes.
Here.
We have quorum. In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the Monroe Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published and electronic notice provided by having the date, time, and place thereof posted October 11th, 2024 and September 20th, 2024 at all schools, on the district website, Home News Tribune, Cranberry Press, and filed with the clerk of the municipality.
Thank you. Our next item is our closed session resolution. Whereas the Senator Byron M. Bear Open Public Meetings Act NJSA 10:4-6 provides that the Monroe Township Board of Education may hold an executive session from which the public is excluded to discuss matters that are confidential or are one of the 9 subject matters listed in Section 12B of the Act, and whereas that the board hereby declares that its discussion of the following subjects will be made public at a time when the public's interest in disclosure is greater than any privacy or governmental interest being protected from disclosure. Now therefore be it resolved by the Monroe Township Board of Education that the board shall go into executive session to discuss the following items. Additional items may be determined as needed. Pending or anticipated litigation in matters covered by the attorney-client privilege, HIB investigation involving students, other receive attorney-client advice regarding possible litigation. Be it further resolved that said discussion may be disclosed to the public when reasons for discussing and acting upon it in closed session no longer exist. Action may be taken on any of the items stated above. I have a motion.
Motion. Second.
We will be in closed session for approximately 1 hour and should return around 7:15.
And if I may, just so the public is aware, the board will not be taking formal action in executive session. To the extent that the board is going to take formal action, it will be done out here in the public. Thank you.
Great. I'd like to call the meeting back to order. The board has returned from closed session and there is no action to be taken. The next item on our agenda is the approval of minutes. Can I get a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
The Public Board of Education meeting minutes from September 25th, 2024.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pirro, second by Ms. Bora. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions, recusals? Ms. Ratner, abstain? The next one is the closed session meeting minutes from September 25th, 2024. Is there a motion?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Ms. Alvarez, second by Ms. DePayne. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions or recusals? Abstain. Ms. Ratner abstains. The next item on our agenda is our student board members report. Welcome back.
It has been a vibrant and busy fall at Mill Lake School. On October 7th, students dressed to impress for Picture Day at the lake. During their Week of Respect, students and staff came together for a variety of activities centered around the theme of respect and empathy. The school was especially colorful as both students and staff showed off their creativity and energy with superhero-inspired outfits. In September and early October, Mill Lake Student Council organized a collection for Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month. Thanks to the generosity of Mill Lake families and staff, donations of Squishmallows, gift cards, stress balls, and poppets were gathered. These items will be included in goodie bags by Jonathan Volpe, a former Mill Lake student and childhood cancer survivor turned advocate. The goodie bags will be given to children spending Halloween in the hospital through the Child Life program at Bristol Myers Squibb Children's Hospital on the HEM oncology floor. Mill Lake Student Council was honored to assist Jonathan and his family in this heartwarming cause. Looking ahead, Mill Lake will continue their service efforts with a Think Pink event on October 18th in support of breast cancer awareness. Mill Lake's therapy dog, Karamia, has been a hit with the students, receiving plenty of love during her visits. She will return twice a month for reading sessions and snuggles with the Little Lakers. As Halloween approaches, Mill Lake is excited for the festivities. The Mill Lake / Woodland PTO will host their annual trunk or treat on October 26th in the Woodland School parking lot. For more details, please be sure to visit the Mill Lake PTO Facebook page.
Next up is Woodland Elementary School. Woodland Principal Dr. Chetta, Counselor Mrs. Newcomb, and the SEL committee kicked off a character goal assembly focusing on honesty. The principal instructed Woodland students on school expectations. Mrs. Newcomb and Mr. Dale received student essays and teacher input for their selection of 2024 to 2025 character crew and student council representatives. Woodland School also celebrated Respect Week with Spirit Days during the week of October 7th. The Woodland Mill Lake PTO is hosting a pumpkin patch for the students on the baseball field on Thursday, October 16th. The school conducted their bus evacuation drills and reviewed bus safety this month as well. Code Zero STEM Club begins Thursday, October 16th.
And now we're moving on to Barkley Brook Elementary School. During the week of October 7th to the 11th, Barkley Brook participated in a week of respect as well. The activities of this week focused on promoting kindness and inclusivity while celebrating uniqueness and diversity. Students and staff participated in a week full of themed spirit days along with daily activities to empower and encourage students to embrace differences and stand up for others. Barkley Brook held its semi-annual bus evacuation drills in October. During the fall bus evacuation drill, students board the bus with their class to learn about what to do in case of an emergency. The drivers show the students all of the emergency exits, and students practice evacuating the bus through the rear bus door. Barkley Brook would love to thank the Monroe Township Transportation Department, bus drivers, and bus aides for facilitating this important drill with their students. On October 9th, Barkley Brook celebrated Fire Safety Month with a firefighter visit and assembly. During the assembly, the students watched a fire safety video which focused on ways to prevent fires. Afterwards, the firefighters discussed fire safety in the home and the importance of fire safety plans for the home. One firefighter dressed up in his gear while another firefighter discussed the different components and their functions. The assembly concluded with a trip to see the fire truck. Barkley Brook thanks the Monroe Township Fire Department, District 3, for sponsoring this fun and engaging assembly.
Moving on to Brookside Elementary School. Brookside held their Week of Respect during the week of October 7th. They celebrated the Week of Respect by having 5 enjoyable theme days to promote kindness and inclusivity. The students visited the PTA Book Fair in the Media Center on October 9th and 10th. The Fire Safety and Prevention Assembly for 4th and 5th grades occurred, and the Fire Safety House for 3rd grade took place on October 8th. Halloween celebrations will take place on October 31st.
And now we're moving on to Oak Tree. Oak Tree welcomed October by celebrating the Week of Respect as well. Each day was a different themed day, like Hats Off to Respect and Respect Rocks, where students dressed up like rock stars. The week ended with their very first Falcon Fest pep rally, where the entire school joined together to celebrate demonstrating the Falcon Way, a new positive behavior school-wide initiative. It was filled with school cheers and songs and much more. The bus evacuation drills for Oak Tree took place on October 15th, and their first assembly of the year will take place on October 24th, when Omega Man visits their school. The PTA's Trunk or Treat event will take place on October 25th. Oak Tree teachers will host a team pumpkin trunk at which non-food items will be given out. School pictures are October 29th, and the Halloween parades will take place on the 31st.
Next up is Applegarth Elementary School. On October 10th, students at Applegarth participated in a spooktacular Halloween STEM and SEL event sponsored by the SEL team, with pumpkins being provided through the PTA. Students painted positive affirmations on pumpkins, listened to stories, and constructed bone bridges, to name a few of the activities. The PTA has sponsored numerous snack sales during the month of October. 2 Dine to Donate activities have also been held. The PTA had a general membership meeting on October 8th and conducted a clothing drive and spiritware sale. Thank you to Applegarth's hardworking PTA. Student council representative elections are going to be held this month. Currently, candidates are hanging their posters around the building to show their qualifications. Code Zero began during the zero period at Applegarth. Club Code is beginning shortly after school as well. The principal's book club for Ground Zero will be held on Tuesday, October 22nd from 4 to 5 p.m. The PTA-sponsored Trunk or Treat is happening on Friday, October 25th. Food trucks, trunk or treating, and dancing with the DJ are some of the fun things in store for Applegarth students. Applegarth School is also holding its annual election on Wednesday, October 30th. Students will be conducting a scavenger hunt about the electoral process and the branches of government. They will sign a registry as voters and will enter a voting booth to cast their vote about what the daily motivational phrase will be at the end of Applegarth's morning announcements. Each classroom will have a certain number of electoral votes based upon the number of students, and election results will be tracked throughout the day on a school-wide visual. Sounds like a very fun activity.
Lastly, this is a reminder that this week is Parent-Teacher Conference Week for all elementary schools. Schools will be having meetings throughout the week, and some might have night sessions for conferences. Now, let's move on to the middle school. On September 30th, staff from Robbinsville School District visited MTMS to observe the MTMS AVID classes. They met with the students, and the Robbinsville staff was able to discuss the AVID program with the MTMS students and staff. MTMS is seen as a model AVID program, and this is not the first time that another school district has visited us. Monroe Township Middle School will be hosting the Monroe History Night on October 17th at 6 p.m. in the middle school PAC. This will be a wonderful opportunity to learn more about the local history surrounding our town of Monroe. The town historian will share stories and artifacts to bring the past to life. On October 24th, the 6th grade production of Joust, a mighty medieval musical, will be held. We invite the entire community to come out and support these talented students. On October 25th, MTMS will hold its annual 6th grade Halloween dance. We anticipate the majority of our 6th grade class to attend and look forward to the great night. Information on 7th and 8th grade dances will go out closer to the events.
And lastly, we're at MTHS, the high school. So the high school's freshmen, sophomores, and juniors recently took the PSAT on Monday, October 14th, which is also when senior sunrise took place outside on the field. From the previous year's juniors, now seniors, 30 have been recognized in the National Merit Scholarship Program as commended students. Three additional seniors from Monroe Township, out of only 16,000 across the United States, have also been selected as semifinalists in National Merit Scholarship process and will continue on in the selection process. These recognitions were given as a result of each of these 33 students' stellar scores on the PSAT the previous year. The high school congratulates all commended students and semifinalists and wishes a best of luck to all that are wrapping up their fall sports. Thank you all for listening and have a great evening.
Thank you very much. I love listening to your reports are so comprehensive, and it's, for most of us up here, obviously we only hear about the things going on in each of our own children's school. So it's always great to hear what's happening. So thank you guys very much. The next item on our agenda is a presentation of student and staff recognition.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for, I'm so glad I can't tell my voice with my voice. Good? There it is. Good evening, everyone. There you go. That's a little bit better. This is the first of this school year where we get to recognize your children, our students, all of our children, and we are very excited for this evening. What we try and do is we try and make it, if not thematic, but appropriate during the time of year. So rather than wait till the end of the year where we recognize everybody's child, which is very exciting, but it's also very overwhelming, we want to make sure that no one gets missed and everyone has an equal opportunity to hear their child's name heard. It's a very big deal when you hear your child's name announced for something that they have accomplished. It's very exciting, and I'm speaking as a mother. So that being said, Mr. Moraldo has a running, it's almost like just to let you know how we do things, it's almost like a running Google sheet, but then it becomes a viable opportunity for us to recognize your children, and we try and separate it when it's appropriate during various different sports seasons, different events, different activities. You know, music was so exceptional that all we do is give out awards after awards after awards, and we're very excited about that. So this is the very first start of the acknowledgments, and this will go all the way till June, and we're very excited to have you here. So I just wanted to say welcome, and thank you for giving your children to us. Mr. Moraldo?
Thank you, Dr. Chanley, and happy Bosses Day. So as Dr. Chanley mentioned, this is a tradition that our school has been following for the last couple of years now, and we are happy now that we have set a standard to where we can recognize students intermittently throughout the year to recognize them for a variety of different things. Historically, we've distinguished these types of recognitions for athletics and performing arts, but now we are happy to start looking at some of the other incredible things that our students and staff are doing. The first month here in the 24-25 school year, we wanted to take a moment to recognize the service of our students and staff that took place towards the end of the school year and over the summer. And why that's significant is because while some kids are sleeping in, staring at screens on the beach or doing whatever, we had dozens of students come in search of service opportunities, in many cases for required service hours, but in some other cases just to do good. And what's nice about the opportunities during the summer is that we can connect our high school students and sometimes even middle school students with our youngest learners in a meaningful way that allows them to flex some of their curricular strength, but also demonstrate some strong leadership skills. So the first recognition will be related to the fine arts. And on behalf of Principal Garcia, I would like to recognize our National Arts Honor Society. So Ms. Garcia reached out to myself and Mr. Snyder at the end of last school year and said she was looking for an opportunity to bring some culture and some excitement and some fine arts into the Mill Lake Elementary School. So naturally, we connected her with the National Arts Honor Society, which is the final stop for our fine arts students at the high school, but it is a service-based organization like all of our honor societies, so it was the perfect match. And Mr. Varelis, who is the advisor of the National Arts Honor Society at the high school, he's also one of our summer instructors, recruited his members to get together, and not only did they come in and work on some projects throughout the community, you may notice that we have a freshly painted Board of Education sign. They helped work as student teachers in our summer art studio, but they spent the bulk of their time this summer working on the Mill Lake Summer Tree Project. And if any of you have been inside Mill Lake since the opening of school this year, you will see, you can't miss it, the tree that they have built. And not only is it something that can continue to evolve as a school-based project, but they're able to theme that tree as the seasons move on throughout the year. So Mr. Varelis couldn't be here tonight, and many of our students, even though they can't be here tonight because they have other obligations, whether they be athletics or academic, all the certificates will be sent to them, and this broadcast will be posted on our website and is currently streaming live. So if the students are not here, we would like to recognize them nonetheless. So I mentioned Mr. Varelis, the advisor. He would like me to recognize his student teachers and volunteers, starting with, and apologies in advance for any mispronounced last names, Avani Gambarala, Pooja Shokla, Shika Patnaik, Ava Marie Di Benedetto, Sean Desmond, Hamsini Markala, Tanishi Pandya, and Shravya Bilakurthi. Thank you to all of the members of the National Arts Honor Society. Moving on through the Mill Lake Manor over to Woodland School. We had a high school student donate some time, and this was a long project. I would like to thank Christian Backoff, who in pursuit of his Eagle Scout service project did an incredible job with his associates and family members and relatives to restore and really improve upon the Woodland Elementary School's outdoor learning center, environmental learning center / school garden. So thank you, Christian. Now moving back into some summer volunteerism. Last summer, in 2023, thanks to the motivation of students, this was a student and parent organized project, we created the first Lego League, which is as rigorous as it gets for elementary and middle school computer science and robotics learning. It's very difficult for a public school to launch such a program given the complexity of the curricular expectations, but also the time requirements, the collaboration that is required outside of school. And it's very difficult to pull something like this off with the staff over the summertime. So naturally, we go to the best resource in town, which are our students. And these students volunteered. And when I say that they were student teachers, that is not an overstatement in the least bit. These students were teaching the highest level of Python and block coding to students as young as 3rd grade through 8th grade. Our teachers that run this program just last night finished their Python training, which is on par with some of the lessons that our student teachers were actually teaching over the summer. So it is an incredible challenge to stay current with the complexity of computer science and robotics, but thankfully our students are some of the best resources we have in the district, and they come in and are able to fill the gaps when our teachers cannot. So I would like to recognize the students that were the student teachers, and this year, our 2nd year of the first LEGO League, beginning with Sia Desai. She's back up for another one. Avani Gambarala. Anish Masker, who was one of the founding fathers of, or founding brothers of this organization. Tanishi Pandya. And Nitish Sanku. And these student teachers will hopefully be back with us next summer. Okay. Moving on, and if Mr. Nixon would like to come up and join me at the mic. Mr. Nixon is one of our technology teachers here at the Monroe Township High School, and a couple years ago when he joined us coming out of the pandemic, he and I made a commitment to revitalize the civil engineering and architecture thread drafting at the Monroe Township High School. It was a program that was in desperate need of a revamp and was not receiving the enrollment that we would have liked. Particularly in that fast and rapidly growing area of engineering. So Mr. Nixon came in and did exactly what we asked him to do and created a lot of excitement for the program. They're filled to the brim with enrollment. And we decided the next best thing now, in order to make the program truly at the level, is we needed to start teaching these kids at a younger age. And what better place to do that at MTSD Summer? So Mr. Nixon, at the end of the school year, put together some learning modules. And once again, thanks to the help of some of his top students, in his co-curricular clubs and his curricular programs, we were able to launch the brand new CAD is Rad program at MTSD Summer. And once again, his student teachers were phenomenal, not only showing content area expertise, but demonstrating leadership for the young boys and girls that enrolled in this program. So I don't know, if Mr. Nixon, if you want to say a couple quick words about your students.
Well, I call them the 3 amigos. These guys were actually like my right hand. They've been with me since their freshman year. They've taken various different courses with me. They're all board members in my 3D design club. And I can't say enough good words about these guys. I mean, all of you, they're just totally awesome.
So nice.
I couldn't do the program without them. You know, it was just a little different having 3rd to 5th graders, 6th to 8th graders. You know, a bunch of them kind of running around, but you know, the patience level and just the ability to work with the young kids was just really phenomenal. My first time working, you know, I have a young son, but first time working with kids, you know, that age myself. So we kind of had to tailor a couple things that we would do or teach from like a high school level, but the young kids, they were actually able to design a Tesla Cybertruck. And that was just like a phenomenal project. And I think just the young minds, when they're that young and just that eager to learn, it's just amazing. And then, ironically, I had a remote control Tesla Cybertruck, so they actually got a chance to design it and to drive it. So it was just like a nice connection. So we had a lot of fun this summer, and like I said, I have to give a whole lot of credit to them.
So we will call them up by name. For the 3 amigos, Tarun Vedant Hatharamani. And Gokul Krishnaswamy. And the final student, Mr. Nixon, we would be remiss not to recognize another individual. And in addition to the service to the 3D Design Club, when we talk about program growth and really focusing on what's next, you know, the work of these high school students, they won't be around in the district to see the benefits of it. So when you have upperclassmen that are so willing to give back to the future graduating classes, it really, really actualizes the work that we're doing. And this past year, this next young man, Neville Kassad, through advocacy and passion, was able to work with community members and secure an asset for our program, a brand new 3D printer. And that kind of passion is going to allow us to do more for future classes in our course sequence. So thank you to Neville for everything that you've done to support our program. And thank you once again, Mr. Nixon, for your leadership. Okay, moving on. Mrs. Costantino this summer, who is our theater director at the middle school, decided to run 2 productions this year, and I said to her, if that's what we're going to do, we have to allow more students in, because theater is one of the few classes that we offer over the summer that has a hard cap for reasons of making sure the production works. So she came to me, she says, I can do it, but I need to be able to have 2 assistant stage managers and producers. And so she recruited 2 of her former students that are actively involved in many of the things we do throughout the year. And what's significant about this, the first run, they were stage managers. We rebooted the program later in the summer, and these 2 students actually served as the directors of the actual play, while Mrs. Costantino just kind of stood back and supervised, and the work that they did was fantastic, so we recognized them tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if they were across the street rehearsing. Naomi Gershank and Trinity Keith. MTSD Summer Band Camp is a grade 3 through 8 summer band camp. It was the first ever summer program that we had here in the district, and it has been the staple of what we can do here over the summer. It allows our students to stay engaged with their instruments, which, as any musician or music instructor knows, is critical to the improvement of their craft. And we always have great participation. And again, thanks to the student volunteers, student teachers that come in and work with our young learners, everything from how to put your instrument together. Many of the students that attend our summer band camp, this is their first time with an instrument. So again, an opportunity not just to practice their craft and to become more familiar with their content and to share that knowledge, but also to demonstrate the leadership skills that define our Monroe students. So I would like to make an attempt to recognize our students. Aiden Barakvia, sorry about the typo there. Nitya Malampagwidi. Evan Newell. Aman Patel. Dylan Polishuk. Jaden Newell. Sonit Saxena. Nehal Sen. Chloe Suryati. And Suchi Oak. Again, thank you to all of our student teachers from Summer Band Camp. 2 more. Next, I would like to call up the fastest growing celebrity in the Monroe Township School District, Ms. Heidi Cantor. As mentioned, the Culinary Arts program is our most heavily demanded elective in both the middle school and the high school, so much so that we decided that we wanted to try to create opportunities for our students to get into the culinary arts, not just the culinary arts, but also the life skills that come alongside of our FCS programs. Cooking with Cantor, which is lovingly named after the instructor, Mrs. Cantor, has quickly emerged into a year-round program that is serving as really the identity of many of our initiatives, and we're working on a very special project this holiday season, but we'll keep it quiet for now. And one of the things that we have done with this program, which I think is unique to any culinary enrichment program that I'm aware of, is that Cooking with Cantor is the only summer culinary program that honors and accommodates all dietary restrictions, preferences, and desires. And why that's significant is because we know in the diverse Monroe Township learning community, it can be very difficult to offer a learning experience that can be responsive and reflective to what our students are living with day to day. And one of the beautiful things that Ms. Cantor has done, along with the long list of student teachers that we're about to announce, is that we make sure that everybody that signs up for our program feels like they're in their own kitchen at home. And that is something that we are very proud of, and that's no surprise why this program has exploded in the way that it does. So Ms. Cantor is going to say a very few brief words, and then I will announce her students' names.
I just want to say that these students are the heart and soul of our department. They really are. Our program would not exist if it wasn't for these students here. And as I look at their faces, it's like you don't understand what we go through this. So I think our program is the hardest working program. And if it wasn't for them, it wouldn't happen. You know, as I look at these students, I had Nadia. She was in Europe at the time. And she would do like, what was it, Microsoft Teams with us. So my students would actually, the campers would talk to her in Europe. You were in Macedonia, correct? All right, and she would tell them everything about Macedonia. All right, my girls that I see here and my boys, I would have students that would be quiet during the entire school year. They come to this program and I see a whole different person. All right, and it's not only these students that are helping, and really, I'm not going to say they slaved during the summer, but it was hot in our room. We had no air conditioning. So that's when I could tell you that they need to fix the air conditioning in our school during the summer. But they were there working, I would say their tushies off, assisting in everything that we did. Plus they got to eat, which was nice too. And to work with the campers, and there was one camper in particular, she was there on scholarship, and we loved when she came because we would just put her in our own kitchen and she was able to cook on her own. So, and everybody knows who she is. So we were just, okay, you have your own kitchen. Like if we see you burning something, we're going to come and help. But all in all, these girls are the heart of the program. The program would not be what it is if it wasn't for the students.
Thank you, Ms. Cantor. So now we will recognize the students. Jia Patel. Krisha Patel. Jaden Patel. Emmeline Marino Cruz. Sophia Koganoff. Aiden Barakvia. Janelle Otu Apia. Emily April. Daniela Vasquez Veda. Daisy Velasquez. Hayden Wu. Likidatia Juluru. Nitya Kadugi. Brittany Cantera. Amy Rastogi. And Nadia Shavdarska. Thank you to all the students who came in over the summer to help us with Cooking with Cantor, presented by Mrs. Kumar's Indian Cuisine. And finally, to follow up on the incredible presentation that was made last week by Apple to recognize the work of our school as a whole, we mentioned 5 teachers that were instrumental in helping earn that designation and distinction at the high school. But in addition to our school being identified as an Apple Distinguished School, we also have had 5 teachers earn the recognition individually as Apple Distinguished Educators. And this is the culmination of a lot of work, training, but most importantly, application and utilization of the technologies that define our school district. So once again, we just want to recognize and say these teachers' names, starting with a very familiar name who's always being recognized for things, Ms. Sharon DeMarco. So come on up, Ms. DeMarco. Mr. Thomas Lyon. Another teacher who's always here but usually working, Miss Larissa Miller. Wave in the back. Paulina Pereira and Paul Spinelli. We don't say thank you to our teachers enough. A lot of times we wait till Teacher Appreciation Week, but obviously we wish we could do it ongoing. So thank you to the high school staff for the value that you bring to the district. And that wraps up the October student and staff recognition. We'll be back later in the season for a recognition of fall athletics, I believe in December. And some performing arts stuff. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Congratulations to all of our recipients tonight, and thank you for your volunteer work. The next item on our agenda is our committee reports. Are there any committees that are wishing to give a report tonight? Ms. DePayne?
Thank you. The Monroe Township Citizens Advisory Committee met on Tuesday, October 8th, in the High School Media Center. Those in attendance were myself, Dr. Chanley, Dr. Lehman, Mr. Moraldo, Ms. Fabiano, Ms. Alvarez, and Ms. Ratner. Also in attendance were 16 very enthusiastic Monroe Township community members who were chosen to become part of the committee. The meeting was started and everyone in attendance introduced themselves and gave a little information about their backgrounds. Dr. Lehman spoke about the strategic plan. A copy of the plan, which administration and Mr. Moraldo nicely summarized, was handed out. Also, the strategic plan was after the strategic plan was discussed, we had a Q&A session from the new committee members. A task was given to them to go out, take the strategic plan that they were given that evening, and to speak to 20 or more friends and family and explain to them what we have on our plates for the next 5 years. We will go over the budget philosophy at the next meeting, which is on Tuesday, November 12th, and that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. DePayne?
Comment, Ms.
Go
Fabiano.
ahead, Ms. Moore.
It was an amazing meeting. I'm glad that it's hit off the ground, and good luck
Yes.
to you. You've got a great group of parents there, parents and community members, very well represented. Good luck.
Thank you.
Ms. Ratner?
Just to follow up on what Ms. Bora said, I was so impressed with the diversity of the expertise that we have on there. We have people, there's a lot of educators, but there's also a lot of people who were educators that are now in other fields as well. Like they were an educator, now they're in a financial field. And they're very excited and enthusiastic about sharing their expertise, which we are excited about as well. So I'm excited that this is off the ground and running. As well.
That was definitely one of the things that I noticed too, was the level of excitement in the room. Everybody was genuinely excited and really wanted to be there. So it was just a great meeting. It was a great night. And as Ms. Bohr said, I'm excited that we finally have this off the ground and, to see where it goes. So are there any other committees wishing to give a report? Mr. Pirro?
The Building Grounds, Transportation and Security Committee met on October 9th at 7:30 at the High School Media Center. Mr. Take presented us with some items that we're going through right now. One is the annual structural report for our bleachers. The committee reviewed the engineering analysis of the stadium, the high school, middle school, gymnasium bleachers. As noted, report the stadium bleachers with proper maintenance should be viable for another 10 years. Minor vandalism repairs noted in the report have been attended to by Mr. Take's maintenance team. The committee requested the report to be posted on the district website if anybody wants to read it. And we're also looking at the installation of riser boards across the bottom so things couldn't fall through the bleachers. Next was the annual integrated pest management program review. Administration presented a copy of the current integrated pest management plan. Prior to the meeting, the plan was reviewed by the school principals and no recommendations for revisions were requested. The committee supported proceeding with the plan as currently maintained for the upcoming school year. The Applegarth HVAC upgrade project was rebid for the ROD grant. Administration was advised that the project has been rebid with a scheduled bid opening of October 31st. The original bids were rejected per advice from our legal counsel, and the new bids will be presented at a November excuse me, Board of Education meeting for action. Our ESIP project update, administration advised that they will be working closely with Honeywell and also with Tri-State Energy on the level 2 audits, as well as finalizing a bid package for potential solar projects. We anticipate delivering an energy service plan to the committee for review in November, as well as finalizing an investment grade energy audit, Mr. Taggett said. We did a discussion on our board goals. Administration shared thoughts on district-long infrastructure needs to be considered for future budgets under our board goals. That was it for building and grounds. We met our new transportation director, Ms. Donna Martyr, was introduced to the committee and welcomed by all committee members. She was assured by administration and the board that we will support the transportation department any which way we need to meet the needs of our students. She was very excited for her new endeavor as our director of transportation, and we all look forward for a nice, peaceful, happy school year and working with her. That was it for the committee. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Pirro? Okay. Any other committees that would like to give a report? Ms. Alvarez?
The Policy Committee met on Tuesday, October 8th, 2024. Present at the meeting were Dr. Chanley, Dr. Lehman, Mrs. Fabiano, Dr. Peck, Mr. Zeichner, and Mrs. Ratner. The meeting began with another discussion of the use of facilities policy. Additional language was added to include current shared services agreements. This is on tonight's agenda for a first read. Policy 9210, parent organizations, and Policy 9700, special interest groups, were reviewed to understand the difference between the two groups. A question arose during the discussion related to the term recognized parent organization. The committee agreed to obtain clarification as to the process involved in becoming a recognized parent organization. Additionally, the policy has not been updated since June of 2003. Therefore, the committee will review this policy again in consultation with the board attorney to determine if any updates are warranted at this time. Finally, the committee discussed its board goal for the current school year. These will be made available to the public in the near future. This concludes my report.
Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Alvarez? Ms. Ratner?
Just really quick, because I know 7510 is on for a first read, and we can still bring it back for a second read because I know we need clarification. So is that basically what we'll do? If we approve it as a first read and then we get the additional information from the meeting with the township and things like that, then we would modify. We can still modify it before it comes back for the second read. That's correct?
Yes.
All right.
Any other, Ms. Bora?
No questions. I was going to.
Okay, do you want to do your report? Reports, I should say?
Yes. I'll do the shorter one first. The Finance and Shared Services Committee met on October 9th. The board members in attendance besides myself were Mr. Pirro, Mr. Zeichner, Dr. Peck, and Mrs. Fabiano. Administrators in attendance were Dr. Chanley, Dr. Lehman, and Ms. Laura Allen. The attorney invoice for the month of August for Porzio was reviewed. Then the committee reviewed the bill list, which at the time of the meeting was only $578,000. Ms. Allen informed the committee that since not enough time had passed from the board meeting, the payroll had not yet been processed. We would see a majority of the bills in the addendum close to the public board meeting. Next on the agenda was a software proposal for Genesis module for HR. This was the second round of deliberation at committee level. Ms. Allen informed the committee that to move payroll also from CSI to Genesis would cost $50,000 for the setup fees and then $10,000 yearly thereafter. Dr. Chanley said, as it stands today, the business office is not in favor of moving payroll to Genesis. It is her recommendation to just move ahead with HR on Genesis, and then once the transition is complete, based on the impact on payroll with two separate systems, they will reevaluate the need to consider Genesis for payroll as well. The committee agreed with Dr. Chanley's recommendation and is up on the agenda tonight. The committee spent some time discussing board goals. We all agreed that the board needs to make most of the partnership with Honeywell Energy Savings Improvement Plan and using the savings to fund as many of our capital project needs as possible. and in an effort to be fiscally responsible to our taxpayers while maintaining an excellent quality of education, we should continue our focus on alternate revenue driving initiatives. That concludes the Finance Committee reports. Any questions?
No question. Any questions for Ms. Bora? Okay,
Can I go on?
sure.
The Curriculum, Co-Curricular Athletics and Pupil Personnel Committee met on October 8. The first item on the agenda was an update on the MTHS final exams after concerns were raised by the Curriculum Committee last year over the student performance. Dr. Higgins presented to the committee a comparison of performance between 2023 and 2024 final exams. Between these 2 years, our graduation requirement credits changed, the process of getting into higher rigor classes was tightened, and last but not the least, the weightage of final exams and overall performance was reduced. As a result of the changes made, the efforts put by the high school administration, less students are failing courses for the year due to final exams. Overall failures decreased in most content areas. Performance in final exams actually helped more students pass a class that they were initially failing. The high school administration will continue to look at individual student-teacher, and subject performance, and the committee will revisit this analysis again next year. The committee chair brought up the issue of inconsistent adoption of the process of regular tests being returned to students after grading to use as an improvement and learning tool. This is supposed to be done for all tests and all subjects besides the final exam, but not all teachers are following this process. Next on the agenda was an extensive and extremely impressive presentation by Mr. Feldman, the district IT director, on our technology plan for the next 5 years. The 71-slide presentation included every little detail about the state of technology in MTSD. Mr. Feldman shared how many devices were on the district's network, with a school-wise device type and refresh timeline split for all of these devices. He gave us an overview of the LAN and internet capabilities and how he felt our current 6,000 megabytes per second pipeline is sufficient and should not need to be changed till 2025 when we renew our plan with Comcast. Details of our newly installed voice over IP solution for phones was also shared. He then detailed the technology infrastructure and software requirements for various curriculums in the school district and where we currently are with those. An extensive list of the core web applications used for instructions as well as evaluation and administration were shared in this plan. A detailed disaster recovery plan was put in place in February of last year by Mr. Feldman's team, and the committee asked that it be updated every year henceforth. The shared goal of the technology team and the committee is to get the student-to-device ratio to 1:1, but that would be totally dependent on the district's financial ability to support this vision. The entire committee applauded this presentation, and we hope to see discussions on various smaller aspects of this plan brought up to this committee in the coming year. Next, Dr. Roselle presented the curriculum documents for 7th grade Italian and French, which were updated to cover the full school year of instruction from earlier years when only 2 marking periods were used. The committee was then presented with an excellent comparative SWOT analysis and recap of the summer enrichment programs in our school district by Mr. Meralda. This comparison was between Season 3 and Season 4 of these programs and clearly showed how significantly we have improved over the years. Several opportunities in last year, like employment opportunities and private sponsorship, have become the strength of the program this year. Mr. Meralda shared in detail areas of weakness in the current program and the threats and the plans to mitigate them. He also shared the plans for the various paid enrichment opportunities that would be offered during the school year as an after-school activity open for all students without selection criteria. Please visit our website for more details. Last but not the least, the committee spent time discussing the board goals. In an effort to tie in this year's goal to our strategic plan and curriculum, the curriculum committee felt strongly that one of the most pressing goals is to work on the portrait of a graduate to develop the district's collective vision for student success. This portrait will describe the skills and competencies that the community agrees its young people need to thrive in learning, work, and life in general. Our goal as a district would then be to teach to the portrait and not to the test. The committee additionally agreed that the board will strive to promote AI literacy while ensuring ethical use of AI. The board's goal would be to use AI to enhance personalized learning with educational experiences tailored to individual student needs. That concludes the curriculum report. Any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Bora? I do just want to reiterate that that technology presentation, as you stated in your report, was incredible. And I think on behalf of the board, and I'm sure any community member that watches that presentation, thank you again to Mr. Feldman for putting that together. It was very informative and extremely comprehensive and very, very much appreciated. So, Ms. Ratner, you had a question?
I mean, that was basically what I was going to say, but just to piggyback on that, what I would also love, and sort of go into my report, I guess, is when we have our new website, or even while the old one is there, to share the technology plan, if that's something that can be shared with the community, because it was really informative to see that.
If it's not up now, it'll be up by the end of the week. We were revising, making some final edits and tweaks, spelling checks and things like that, but it's a document that is welcome and encouraged by the public to engage in, because I think it really provides an overview, but also perspective to the scope of not just the device side of things, but the network security side of things. Any device has an IP address. It's overwhelming and impressive.
Yeah, and it's not just where we are right now, but where we are looking to go. So, yes, anybody that has a chance, like I said, to either watch the meeting or once the document is available online, I fully encourage you to watch and or read it. Any other questions? Any other reports? Ms. Ratner?
Okay, the Legislative Advocacy and Community Engagement Committee met on, this says September 18th, but that was wrong. It was October, a week ago. 9th, thanks. Board of Education members present were myself, Ms. DePayne, Dr. Peck, and Ms. Fabiano. The district administrators in attendance were Dr. Chanley, Dr. Lehman, and Mr. Maralda. The committee began the meeting by discussing updates to the district website. Now that the start of the school year has passed, the district technology team has been working on migrating over teacher websites where needed, which is the final step before the new website is launched. This has been something that we've been discussing as a board for a while, so I'm very excited to see the launch of the new website and see all the work come to fruition. Thank you to the administration and staff members for their work on that. The next item on the agenda was a recap of the letter that we'll be sending to our legislators, along with a discussion of recent legislative updates. We reviewed the new Oprah legislation that was passed and briefly discussed other bills featured on the NJSBA Legislative Committee's update. Any board member who's interested in seeing the list of bills that New Jersey School Boards is following can find it under the Legislative Advocacy Community Engagement Committee content. As far as the letter goes, that was finalized, and I just shared a copy of that tonight with all the board members. If you have any constructive criticism or feedback, please feel free to share it with me so that then we can send that out to our legislators and then tweak it a bit, possibly to move into our letter writing campaign or possibly share with other state legislators that have stakeholders that might benefit as well, even if it's not specific to Monroe. After this, we discussed our board goals that the committee would like to focus on. We reviewed the strategic plan in order to determine what items we wanted to focus on. There were two main goals that our committee decided that we wanted to focus on. The first goal is to advocate for additional funding for our school district. Some tasks to help achieve this goal that were discussed include updating our letter writing campaign, collaborating with other districts dealing with similar funding issues, organizing community members to testify at the state level to help secure additional funding, and continuing to stay informed about pending legislation. To accomplish this goal, we look forward to working with the members of the Citizens Advisory Committee to help get the word out. The second goal is to enhance communication throughout the community. Some tasks to help achieve this goal include identifying areas where we can improve communication, creating a network with our active adult communities as well as other HOAs in order to keep them updated, and creating events to hear the concerns of community members such as bagels with the board. And that concludes my report.
Any questions for Ms. Ratner? Ms. Bora?
The only question I have is, do we have a date for the website release? I know we had put it on hold the school year start.
So the target is right before, end of November, right before Thanksgiving break.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, we put a pause on during opening school, and then we got into that unexpected teacher website transfer piece. And now we're in the process of high-resolution photos and things like that.
Okay, that's great. That's a good time, and it'll be kind of slow. I have one more comment, if I may, Gail. I just wanted to commend you on this letter, and I wanted to request if you could read it out publicly. That would go on public records, and I feel like the content is great, and it would, build some enthusiasm amongst the public to maybe help share this letter. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So, dear legislator, I left it blank because we're sending to multiple people. On behalf of the Monroe Township Board of Education, we thank you for coming to speak with us in July. It was a positive and cooperative discussion, and we look forward to speaking again soon. We wanted to provide additional information about a few key topics discussed that night. Full-day kindergarten. As discussed, Monroe is one of only 7 districts left in New Jersey without full-day kindergarten. This is due to challenges such as a lack of funding and overcrowding in our buildings, despite Monroe taxpayers passing referendums to build a new high school and a new elementary school. At a time when many districts are getting state funding for full-day preschool starting at age 3, we ask our legislators to advocate and secure funding for a full-day kindergarten program in Monroe. Our administrative team calculated the cost of enacting a full-day kindergarten program based on current enrollment numbers, and the estimated cost would be approximately $16.5 million, which would include staffing, infrastructure modifications, curriculum, and instructional materials. The second subject is S2548-A2784 versus S2837/A4084. Both of these bills address how school districts can ask voters to go above the 2% cap. The difference is that S2837/A4084, which was signed into law on September 4th of 2024, requires school districts to hold a special election in January, March, September, or December. An election held in any month besides November costs the school district about $100,000 in election costs. S2548/A2784 provides the ability for a district to place an additional spending question on the November ballot when an election is already being held. We ask that our legislators support the advancement of S2548/A2784 in addition to S2837/A4084. The next subject was preschool grant restrictions. As mentioned, many similar school districts are receiving millions of dollars in state aid to provide a full-day preschool program on an annual basis. Because Monroe Township is unable to offer a full-day kindergarten program, we are ineligible to apply for these grants. We would ask our legislators to advocate for allowing districts without a full-day kindergarten program to be allowed to apply for these grants as well in order to help fund both kindergarten and preschool programs. Examples of 2024-2025 preschool state school aid. This is in addition to their standard school state aid. South Brunswick, $5.5 million. North Brunswick, $7 million. Robbinsville, $2.8 million. Piscataway, $8.3 million. Princeton, $3 million. I tried to find ones that were similar to our demographics. Impact fees. In 1975, the New Jersey State Legislature passed Act PL 1975C.291, which required builders to pay for the effects a development would have on a municipality, but fees were limited to roads, sewers, and water supplies. In 2022, a bill was proposed by Senator Turner that addressed this concern, S2168. We ask that our legislators work to modify this act by passing legislation so that the burden on local school districts is included in impact fees as well. We hope that you will find this information helpful while advocating for the taxpayers and children of Monroe Township. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us. And then I included Ms. Fabiano, Dr. Chanley, and myself on the bottom.
Thank you, Ms. Ratner, for putting this together. And I think we said this when we had the meeting and probably after the meeting, but again, saying again, this was something that I know when you, myself, and Ms. Boer ran for the board 3 years ago now, that we had wanted to get our to get the ears of our legislators. And so now not only did were we able to get them to come to us, but now we are able to continue this discussion and follow up with this letter. And it's fully comprehensive and really includes our must-haves, must-haves, I would say. So thank you. I appreciate your work on this. Ms. DePayne, you had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I'm on the the LACE committee, and Ms. Ratner tasked me to look up some information for her and for us. So right now I'm working on finding out, I did Middlesex County. I think there were 4 or 5 districts that lost money and the percentages, and I'm working on Mercer and Monmouth. I did work on it, and I had to watch, I had babysit because my grandchildren go to Howell, and they were off on Monday for Columbus Day. So I do have all the information. I told her I just need to put it down someplace. I didn't have time to type it up. And it's very interesting. Monmouth County, a lot of their schools lost quite a bit of money. So I think Senator Gopal is from Monmouth.
That's why you've heard Senator
And
Gopal
that
get
put a little
very
spark under Senator
vocal.
Gopal to speak out for not only his district, but he's been speaking, I guess, across the state about the issues with the state funding. So, but I was shocked to see, Middlesex wasn't that bad, Mercer wasn't that bad, but when I saw Monmouth, I said, whoa, no wonder that gentleman got so involved. They lost quite millions and millions, some of their districts lost. So I'll have all that information ready. We can hand it out.
And so just to, update a bit what the project is, which I appreciate Ms. DePayne, offering her assistance with that, would be to find other school districts, which, we're starting with our counties and then surrounding counties, but then hopefully statewide, who have lost funding or never had funding to begin with the goal of having enough support statewide to pass the school funding task force, which we've been discussing here for years. But while we have different needs than a lot of these districts, it's about finding districts that would be motivated to get this off the ground. And then the next step would be advocating to make sure when there's a new formula that it's done correctly, it takes into account the things that we've had challenges with.
If I can just add to what Gail said, it has been tragic for the school districts that have lost the funding. But if you look at it from the Monroe lens, Monroe never had that money ever, and we always deserved that money, at least for the last decade. So our battle is so much different than those, and so we really will have to be selective in finding the allies that have the same situation as zero equalization aid, $0 versus districts that used to have $40 million and now are at 30 or 25. $15 million out of your budget is a huge hit, I agree. But we never even had those 15 million. We were at $0. So our conversation is just so much more pitiful than theirs.
And I think if I can add, Ms. Ratner, I did sum up equalization aid on the districts in Middlesex County, and none of them, if I remember, none of them got it. So I sent you the report. In Middlesex? And was it Middlesex County? I don't think any of them got equalization aid.
No, they all did. I did the research in April, this year.
There was something they didn't get.
I'll share with you, Gail. I'll email it to you.
What?
So there's us and one other district that I forget which one it is. It might be Cranberry, but I don't want to speak without being sure, that don't receive any equalization aid. The rest of the districts in New Jersey do.
They all
receive some sort of equalization aid, whether it's gone up or down over the years. That I'm not 100% sure.
Well, there was something I checked in, and I don't have my report right now.
I can pull up the email that you had sent, but
All right.
we'll also discuss it at next month's meeting.
Yeah, we will, and I'll have more information at that meeting too, but it was interesting to see how bad these districts are being treated.
But all of our neighboring Middlesex district have a lot of equalization aid, even this year. Even though with the reduction, they have at least $25 million more than us in equalization.
So it had to be another.
We don't even get that much in overall aid.
I don't know.
So just to share, the districts that you had written didn't receive equalization aid for this year were Monroe, Cranberry, Metuchen, and Middlesex Borough. So it's those four.
Four. I knew there was a few, yeah.
And then
Middlesex, yeah.
The rest of them receive something, whether it's a little or a lot. But
Thank you, Ms. Ratner, for that. Yes.
Any other comments? I think that was all of our committees. Yes? Okay, great. Then the next item on our agenda is our public forum for agenda items only. Any member of the public wishing to speak, you have 4 minutes to do so. Please state your name and municipality for the record. Hold on, I don't know if your mic is on. We can, but they can't.
Somebody's coming now.
Oh, can we stop the clock? Just restart it. Thank you. Now it's on.
Thank you. Richard Gibbons, 415 Schoolhouse Road. I hope what I have to say tonight is not an issue. My grandson started school in the first grade in Barclay Brook this September. And I was told when I called the school that the school librarian has the authority to pick the books that go into the library, which is fine with me. However, in watching the news, I've seen that there are some school districts in the state that somehow have allowed like graphic, pornographic books that get into the school libraries. Now, what I've seen, some of these books I probably wouldn't be able to show you here at a Board of Ed meeting. And my request is very simply that you would check this out. Check the school libraries and see if there's any books like that and have them removed. And I'd like to get back to you next month if I could and see if you find anything. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time. God bless each and every one of you and have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Chanley, did you, or?
There is some conversation. I know there's another gentleman who happens to not be here this evening who does come forward to discuss the Freedom to Read Act, if I'm saying that correctly. And we started to have conversations. Was it in one of the committee meetings?
We talked about it in the legislative action.
In the legislative action. So at this time, we feel confident, although I definitely respect that gentleman. So there will be no question that Dr. Lehman, myself, Dr. Roselle, we will have the conversation absolutely and confirm that all of our materials are appropriate, age appropriate. I feel confident, but I think he asked a legitimate question, and we want to be able to give him a factual statement when he returns. That will not be a problem.
Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak?
Hi, Michelle Arminio, 9 Nathaniel Street. I just want to thank everyone on the board and all the committees. It was a wonderful reports. You're doing a lot of great work, and that letter is so good and detailed that it's definitely what we need. So I want to thank you, and I know how hard you work. So I mean, really, I'm just astonished. One little thing that seems sort of like minutia that I'm almost embarrassed to bring up, but because I live in the area and I pass the high school all the time, we're talking about savings and electric and stuff. These lights are on till 10 o'clock. Somebody has really got to take control of, and I have no problem with keeping the lights on when people are there and playing sports or on the fields, but I don't think we need the lights to be on as long as they are. There's no one there. We should have had this under control for years. We've been talking about it. So don't we have a program that someone regulates the lights that go on and off? It has to be revisited because it's not working.
Yeah. So I appreciate your comments, because I do agree that, I made the comment that we're looking at pennies and nickels and dimes, right, not just the big money. So all I will say is I will confirm with Mr. Tague. I do know firsthand, I can only speak on what I know firsthand, I do know firsthand that the air conditioning and the heating system is on a system.
Right.
And that is absolutely correct, because I know when we dealt with them, they're not even in this state. But as far as the actual control and timing of the lights, I don't want to say something that's erroneous. So give me the opportunity to have the conversation with Mr. Tague and look into it exactly how it works. Is it standard? Do we know? I know that Mr. Barandica is here. He's always here. And he's our director of athletics and co-curricular. So perhaps I could have a conversation with him as well, looking at the schedule, having the conversation. I know Mr. Selby also talks with the rec department. So I have to just get everybody that's involved, but I think it's a very legitimate question or statement. I appreciate it.
I certainly know that safety is an issue,
I
and
agree.
we should have lights for safety, but not to the extent that we have them, and not at the late of like 10 o'clock. It's been 10 o'clock when I passed it, and I said, there's absolutely no need, it's a waste of money, and we really should have been cognizant, like I said, for years, when I was on the board, so shame on me for not having done it sooner. But we've talked about it over the years, and it really needs to be addressed, because it's a lot of money, and I see this area, but I'm sure it's all over with all of our buildings. So it really needs, and like you said, hey, it might be pennies, but it might, within a year, maybe dollar, a
Every
lot of
little bit
cents.
helps.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you for a great job that you're doing, and President Fabiano, I still think you got a home run going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Arminio.
And it's very pleasant. It's been very pleasant to listen to everyone, and the way everyone is speaking, it's decent and congenial, and thanks for that.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, then we will close this public forum and move on to the Assistant Superintendent's report. Dr. Lehman.
Sure. Mr. Moraldi, you want to come up? So it's going to be a different twist on my report for this month. We have some housekeeping items to take care of. Specifically, we're going to do a little information on our HIB report. We're going to do a little student test data, and we're also going to hit on some of our alternative assessments as well as AP scores. Can I run a clicker? Will it work for me? Yeah. It does or doesn't? All right, great. We're just testing out the technology, which is in the technology report we already talked about. It's one of the items in there. Exactly. All right, so we'll start with the HIB update. So we're going to wrap up last school year, and again, it seems a little delayed, but we do have cases that linger for approval throughout the summer. So this is really the first opportunity we have an opportunity to kind of highlight some of the statistics from last year. So we had 25 investigations of HIB, harassment, intimidation, and bullying. 20 were founded, 5 were unfounded. In terms of who's filing cases, 7 of those cases were filed by staff, 8 of them were filed by parents, the remaining balance were filed by students. We look at suspensions and expulsions, that's another area that we highlight. So in terms of harassment, intimidation, and bullying specific consequences, those really focus on counseling, mediation, and support mechanisms. Our discipline is code of conduct related. So each situation has a behavior related to code of conduct as well as a HIB lens. So all of our discipline is focused on the code of conduct side of things. So there are often suspensions, not expulsions, but suspensions or detentions related to behavior that may occur in the arena of an HIB case, but that is whether it's harassment, intimidation, or bullying, founded or unfounded, those consequences are applied separately because it's a code of conduct issue regardless of the findings of the case. So that's why you see that there's no specific suspensions related to that. In the chart there, we just have a breakdown of where the cases were investigated. You can see it's primarily middle school and high school. And that's not to be surprising. There's a lot of education that takes place in the K-1-2 arena. 3, 4, 5, we start to transition into some of the more HIB-related behaviors. And then you can see it kind of fades into the high school and middle school. What are the nature of some of the protected categories and distinguishing characteristics? You can see it's actually relatively evenly distributed. We don't have 10 investigations focused in one area. I think we have a comprehensive preventative instructional program, whether it's an SEL piece, HIB-specific piece. We just went through the Week of Respect in all our schools. So we do a lot of education and support on the front end, and I think that helps us on the back end in terms of supporting student behaviors. So that is just a brief kind of overview of our cases. Again, I would consider this a relatively typical, it's about 2 cases a month. 2.5 cases a month. That's pretty standard. Again, we don't have any grades that are a particular hotspot. We don't have any schools that are a particular hotspot. And again, I think that's a testament to the broad, general, supportive instructional environment that we go through with our our staff and our administrative team, and also the instruction that we give our students in working through this. Any questions, HIB specific, before we move on? Great. Thank you. So the next piece is our NJSLA scores. So my preface to this is the way we present data is a lot of numbers in big charts. So I will do a few highlights of particular data as we go through, because it doesn't make a lot of sense to read each column and kind of, bore everybody with the repeating reading of numbers and things. What I can tell you from an overall perspective, and the first two slides are kind of the baseline for the rest of the slides that go through. They kind of break those first two slides apart into subcategories and things, is the results are what we expected, to be honest with you. We saw, and I'll highlight, because I want to connect us back to last year's presentation, we have a unique group of students that's moving through, and it actually highlights in test scores. And I haven't seen it before. I've been doing this been in education for 20 years. I haven't seen this kind of discrepancy, or I wouldn't say discrepancy, but this kind of like separate, unique data point as it moves through. So it's unique. But moral of the story is we're going to see some fluctuations. You see 1.5% up, 2% up, 1.5% down, 2% down. Most of the grade categories we're going to talk about, 1% represents 4 students. So we're looking at, in the district, if we're going up and down 1% in a grade level, it's 4 students. So that could be 4 students that came in with a fever one day and skews us from getting the same or just slightly improving from last year's test scores to, down 0.5% or whatever. So we're a district that is a very good district, right? We're a great district. We want to be outstanding. So there are no really hot spots that we could say, if we fix this one particular flaming fire, we will go 20 points increase in a specific area, right? So we have very good test scores across the board. We have areas that we are consistently working on, and you see that in subtle changes of data, but there are so many variables with this one particular report, this one particular assessment. It's baseball season. Who had the night baseball game or night softball game before you come in and you take the test? Like, there's a lot of things. So you're hungry and you're cranky and you're not in your best test taking piece. So that's the issues we see with this NJSLA specific connected to, it's all connected to, accountability with the federal government and the state. Our operational data that we use on a day-to-day basis is the MAP data, is the data that we get from our interventionists, and in the classroom data, and it's real time. This data is 6 months old. Anybody that we're focusing on, we're already focusing on, and we're a month into helping them and supporting them growing from where we are. So that's just kind of my general overview, my general kind of baseline. So here's an example. A lot of numbers on this chart. This is ELA. We have 3 years worth of data. They're all broken across by grade levels, and they're broken into the 5 different meeting, exceeding, not meeting, partially meeting, and approaching expectations. One area I wanted to highlight is if you look at 8th grade, and you go all the way across to level 4 and level 5, the difference. So in 8th grade, we're down 12.2%, but in 9th grade, we're up 13.8%. Last year, we had the conversation when those students were in 8th grade, the 7th grade number went down an equivalent number, and the 8th grade number went up. So we have a grade level that has a particular strength in language arts, and we've followed them through a couple of years, and it's unbelievable. Like, this is, and it's, you can see it, oftentimes it's subtle. I made the connection last year. Some years in athletics, you have a really strong group of soccer players come through, right? And you dominate and you win the state championship, and you kind of go back to your competitive season once those students graduate. This is a cohort of students that has a particular strength in language arts, and they've moved through our grade levels, and that's why you see a really high increase in one year, and then when they left, we go back to about where we should be. And you can see that. So if you go across 8th grade in 2022, 21.4% of our students were exceeding expectations. That cohort took the test. It was 37.8. This year, we're back down to 21.4, back to the normal, our normal kind of operating range. So they kind of move through the grade level. So just a point of highlight, a point of emphasis. Again, you'll see we're up 1.3% in some areas, down 1.6%. You're looking at 4 to 6 students swinging the pendulum in that report. I'll just go through a few slides and we can take questions at the end, okay?
Yep, I just want a clarification. The grades, is that this year's or last year's grades?
This is the grades in which they took the test.
Okay.
So this would be the students last year. They're currently in the next year's grade. Yep. So we have a similar breakdown in math. Something notable in this sheet, we are breaking it out because we have students in middle school that take algebra, geometry. We break them out for middle school and high school. The state does not. They will combine numbers, and you'll see that as they break out further in some of the other slides, where the state, we compare our numbers to state numbers, and the state numbers are the same for the middle school and the high school because, again, they're not disaggregating that data. So if we were to merge them, we would see more consistency with our own school data. But again, we see some natural fluctuations. We see one grade level's up 5.6% in terms of who's what our change was from level 4 and level 5. We see a few grade levels that decreased a little bit. We see a little hiccup in geometry, and we have some ideas as to why that happened. And we're, kind of looking at it. But again, it's a cohort that's moving through. So we would consider these 2%, 1% fluctuations pretty normal with, grade levels coming through, and you have different demographics of students. The next couple slides are just breaking down how many students took the tests over the past few years. So in third grade across, you have 22, 23, 24. The column on the right is the difference between 23 and 24. This does not represent enrollment. We have students that take a variety of assessments. Some students refuse to take this assessment, but it just gives you an idea when you look at test scores and numbers about how many students are taking the assessment for us. Notable, though, overall, we are down about 83 students in grades 1 through 9, or 3 through 9 taking our assessments. And this is a breakdown for mathematics. Again, we're breaking this out. You can see there are students in the middle school, that's with the parentheses MS, that are taking Algebra 1, Geometry. Yep, so that's a demographic of student that performs differently than the standard cohort of 8th grade students as they move into the high school. So once you get into 8th grade, the math scores kind of diverge a little bit. The next set of slides, like I mentioned, is an expanded version of those first 2 slides. We're taking the past 3 years' test scores and we're comparing them to the state. And just something notable as we move through, and again, I'm not going to go item by item here, but what we're seeing, and I've talked about MTSS before in committees, but also we've talked about it at the board meeting, we've approved resources for it. Students that are in our MTSS program and our MTS process, undergoing that process, are embedded in these scores. And we can see subtle movements as those students are going. Many of them are operating in like a level 2, a level 3. So we're seeing movement from level 2 to level 3, which again, when we're looking at growth for students aren't typically going to go from a level 1 performance to a level 4 performance in 1 year. It's going to take years for them to catch back up, or their optimal performance level may be a level 2, a level 3. So we have all those kind of factors that we're looking at when we disaggregate this data and we look at student by student. And as every one of these columns, every one of these pieces of data points, we engage in students that fall in these categories, not these big overarching numbers and themes. So here we go, we're just moving through. This is level 3 and level 4, again, across the board. Yeah, I mean, we're moving in the right direction. I think you can see down here, all grades, our level 3 from last year is down a little bit, which is good. And what we're seeing is movement from students in level 3 to level 4 and students from level 4 to level 5. As you can see, our level 5 is up. 14.3 to 16.2. If we go back to the previous slide, some of those level 4 students have moved up, and our level 3s are now in level 4. And again, this is aggregated. This is big picture data. When we drill into this in the summer, we're looking at individual students through Linkit. We're looking at individual students through MAP. We're going to go through the same set of slides for mathematics. So this is just a general piece kind of explaining when we're in grade 8, we have grade 8 students taking grade 8 math, we have grade 8 students taking algebra, we have grade 8 students taking geometry. So we do not have the complete profile of students that we did in 7th grade or even 6th grade as they move up, because they really start to disaggregate. And something notable, when we get into high school, the high school numbers are reflective of only the 9th and 10th grade students. The 11th and 12th grade students are not included. It's something the state doesn't report. And again, you'll see the similar trends. You know, we're outperforming the state as we would expect. And in general, looking at trends moving across. And this is where you'll see, I mentioned the middle school and high school. The state does not disaggregate those students in algebra and geometry. So you can see 17% is the state average for students in percentage for students in level 1. It's in middle school and high school, again, because they don't disaggregate. We have no students in the middle school at level 1 and 12.7% at the high school. So that's reflective of the demographic of student engaging in algebra at the middle school versus algebra at the high school. And those trends kind of move all the way through. Another thing we're required to do is break it down when appropriate. We have one middle school, so we don't break it down by middle schools because there's only one. Same thing with the high school, but we do disaggregate by school. And again, what we're looking at here is each school has a demographic or a profile of students, and we know that we have 3 different schools. I would say 2 of them have similar profiles, and 1 of them has a different profile. When the state used to create peer groups, and they used to put out a school report card that had a list of 30 schools that were very similar to you, Oak Tree and Applegarth were never considered peer schools to Brookside and Mill Lake. They have a different demographic, and whatever the calculation, whatever the state looks at to create and identify mathematically other schools that are peer schools, those 2 schools are different. They were always sorted into a different peer group. So we would never see Brookside as a peer school for Applegarth when we looked at, our 30 common schools and things. So it's just, we know we have different starting points at different schools, and, we look for growth. We're looking for students to move from, whether it's in NJSLA, from a level 3 to a level 4, maintain level 4 to level 5. But again, when we're doing our MAP assessments, which is 3 times a year, that's measure of academic progress, we see the students we're focusing on moving through and making progress. Here's our ELA breakdown for grade 4, grade 5. Again, like I said in the beginning, we see, and we don't see any smoking guns. We see what we expect. We see the fruits of, we're in year 2. Really, it's like year 1.5 of our MTSS process. So we see some of those students we focused on last year moving forward this year with our MTSS process, which is multi-tier system of support. Those students will have a full year of their prescribed interventions with goal setting, monitoring, moving in and out of goals, moving in and out of the process. We expect to see those students move even more, and some of them may move within a level, some of them may move from level to level when it comes to NJSLA scores. And again, here's grade 3, language arts, or math, grade 4 math, grade 5 math. And this is already, Mr. Moralda, already up on the web? Or will be? This will be up on the web by tomorrow. Again, this is the kind of data we are required to present in terms of, subgroups and things. So we wouldn't expect you to dissect and, really engage in this. I'm available for questions if needed. What I'll say is the next few slides are ELA and math breakdowns by race, gender, and then program. So In terms of subgroups, the one area of focus we have, and we had Dr. Roselle in the curriculum committee a few months ago present our 3-year multi-language learner plan. That is a demographic or a subgroup that we have our tremendous amount of focus on. It's an area that we're looking at in terms of high school graduation. It's an area that we're looking on in terms of support from kindergarten all the way in pre-K all the way through 12th grade. So when we look at an area that we're going to focus on and we will continue to focus on, that would be a hotspot for us. It's a growing demographic. 2019, when I was looking at some older data, we were probably 50 or 60 multi-language learners. As you'll see in a couple minutes, we're pushing 200 right now. It's not a large number relative to our student population, but it's rapid growth even through the COVID environment that has a high value in terms of our accountability factors and things, but it's also it's a new kind of environment for us. We have a sheltered instruction program where teachers are trained to support our multi-language learners, but that's an area that we will continue to focus, and they're embedded in our state test scores as well, when appropriate. So, and that completes our, well, just to wrap it up, these are some of the things, if you talk about what are we doing to support students in our day-to-day operations to have our continued growth, to look at hotspots or areas of focus. I spoke about MTSS, which is that multi-tier system of support. That's all grades. That's K through 12. The high school and the middle school are evolving their process. They are implementing and creating, because again, at the elementary level, you have one teacher, 25 students, 20 students all day long. You have different schedules, you have different classes, so it looks differently. So their programs are growing in the types of interventions, but we have a manual, we have a process that MTSS support process is in place. Other interventions we have basic skills that's in class, we have reading specialists, we have our MAP and LAP programs at the middle school. Those are all interventions that are prescribed and I guess implemented for a specific period of time with specific individualized goals for students, and based on a follow-up meeting and data, we will adjust goals or move students in and out of this MTSS process. We do receive title funds for some of our schools. Those title funds, and the board would probably recognize some of the things that we have done over the summer because we approved staff for it. Summer Math Boost, we've done some, like Woodland and Mill Lake have some summer Math Boost programs where they bring students in a couple weeks before school starts and kind of do like a math boot camp kind of piece that gets them a head start for the school year. And then how do we monitor this as a whole, as a district, but all the way down to the teacher level? We use MAP growth as well as some of their reading assessments, and that's kind of like a benchmark type data set that we get 2 to 3 times a year depending on the student. Parents get access to those reports. Those reports have graphs and charts and explanations to the assessments. So, you know, we have a strong understanding of where the students are, who needs the assistance, and then supporting the teachers in differentiating and structuring and getting that student growth area where we want it to be. So that's it for NJSLA. Another test that we give that we report out on is the Dynamic Learning Map, DLM testing. That is given to students with our most significant intellectual disabilities in ELA, math, and science. That is determined through the child study team, whether it's an appropriate assessment the NJSLA is for the student to take. If not, this is one of the assessments they do take. This is how many students took it. That's inclusive of in and out of district students. So that's not just our students attending our special programs here in the district, but it's also out of district. So just to give you a scope, it's a individualized assessment based on every student's current place, current progress, and just measuring their learning appropriate in ways that they can communicate, ways that they can demonstrate their learning. It takes place over several months. Beginning late winter, we start to get prepared for it, and it takes place early spring, late winter. Another piece, I spoke to this earlier, this is our WIDA Access 2.0. This is the assessment used for our multi-language learners. Just highlights here, when students take this, and this is really a monitor of where students are in learning and acclimating to our learning environment. It's not like we're looking for every level 1 to be a level 2 in a certain period of time. This just helps us monitor and track students as they move through and as they learn the language and they learn the academic language as well as the social language of coming to a new country or coming to a new environment. 4.5 is the magic number for a student to exit the ESL program. What that means is they would no longer receive services during the school day. We do monitor students that exit the program for 2 years. We're required to do so because if they begin to struggle, we're required to bring them back into the program and again provides ESL supports to them or multilanguage learner supports to them. So I mentioned before we have 187 students that were assessed. That's significantly up from 2019. This year we had 39 students exit. Again, we're going to monitor them. It's highlighted there twice. We had 39 students that are in the 4.5 or higher. So, and that's it for my part of the presentation. I'm going to have Mr. Maralda speak to AP scores. Do you have any questions real quick on some of this? And I can certainly meet individually with anyone who has like a really specific question because I don't have the breakdown subgroup data to kind of nail into why is this percentage or whatever.
I won't ask that, I promise. Just a general question. So language arts and maths are NJSLA. We do a standardized test for science. Do we get such a report for that?
Yep. I'll share the science piece too.
Okay, thank you.
I'll bring that in at the next meeting if we
And
need.
what grades are those exams?
5, 8, and 11.
Just 3 times?
3 times.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep.
Ms. Ratner?
Just a couple of questions, nothing too specific, I think. So I also, just wanted to commend administration and staff. We had that COVID learning loss that we're seeing the improvement from, we're seeing it, the percentage, and it looks like it's statewide too, but specifically district-wide, it's really nice to see that. As far as the math assessments go, I know you mentioned the Algebra 1 students will take generally that assessment as opposed to NJSLA. Is that also for the students that are in 8th grade that are in geometry?
Yes.
That
take
top
subject
level
specific. Yep.
of students isn't, and that's every year. So from grade 8 2023 to grade 8 2024, we have students that will do that every year. So it shouldn't be that different grade-wise, but in terms of a 7th grade to 8th grade, what those grade levels do, that's where we would see the change.
Well, you could have students in 7th grade taking Algebra 1 assessment, 8th grade taking geometry, 8th grade takes geometry, 8th grade takes algebra, algebra.
Right.
So that's why it gets very complicated to look, you got to go geometry, algebra, and again, we break it out by middle school, high school. The state doesn't do that, so a lot of our numbers will just be one number, which is 9th and 8th grade, or 9th, 8th, and 7th grade, so that's why those numbers get a little wonky.
Right.
And that's why we try and kind of put that disclaimer in the front end.
Okay, yeah, because all of the 6th grade would take NJSLA, generally speaking, most of them, but then 7th grades where you start to lose some, and then 8th grade you would lose more.
Yes. Now, the other piece is when you look at state numbers, there are districts that require 8th graders to take Algebra 1. So again, an 8th grade number in the state number isn't apples to apples because not every district, some districts don't have 8th grade math. Everybody takes algebra.
Okay.
So it's, again, once you start getting into those individualized courses, which is really 6th grade and above,
right,
things get much more muddled.
Are there districts that have students take the Algebra 1 assessment as well as the NJSLA for that grade level? Because if you compare 8th grade to 8th grade, district to district.
You take one NJSLA assessment. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then just the only other question I had in terms of when looking at the subgroups, just because we've discussed the changes in regulations to free and reduced lunch that now allows more students, is there any modifications in terms of looking at those numbers because there might be more students now that are eligible as opposed to years past, or is it just
I haven't looked yet, with the free and reduced numbers from this year's enrollment, right? Because we put it out even more accessible this year in terms of requiring a checkoff form and an acknowledgement form. So Again, we're looking at a percent equaling 4 students, right? So one way or the other, 4 to 5 students, it depends on what grade level, how many students are in the grade. You know, I would say it's not going to rock the boat tremendously, but you know, if we get 50 or 60 new free and reduced lunch students that weren't necessarily in that profile, then you may be looking at the enrollment equaling a change. But I don't think we were missing that many people to begin with in terms of signing up for free and reduced lunch.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Morald, I think you're up.
Good evening once again, everybody. I will be brief in our review of the Monroe Township High School's advanced placement data from the past school year. Every year we receive the outcomes from our AP administration, which takes advanced placement, administration, the last advanced placement exam, which takes place in the month of May throughout that part of the school year, and then we receive our data and results usually around after the 4th of July holiday. So while we champion ourselves as a district of being a whole child district, we are also very, very proud and dedicated to making sure that students that are pursuing a more rigorous education are given the opportunity to do so. And as you can see, our high school offers an advanced placement course and access to an advanced placement exam virtually in every content area that is available. The AP program is governed locally at the high school by Dr. Critelli and her subordinate, Ms. Casey Buffalino, and they do a fantastic job of staying ahead of the curve and in tune with what the College Board is doing. Whenever there's a new course design happening or a course or an exam that is revised, we are alerted from a curriculum standpoint, and our teachers make adjustments accordingly. And it seems like this is happening more regularly, but our high school has done a fantastic job. We reported out last year that we had some goals for our AP program, and at the conclusion of this presentation, I will be happy to report that we believe that we achieved those goals. So as Dr. Lehman mentioned, the data can be hard to read on the screen. This will be available on the web, but so I'll talk about the big picture and really the highlights from this year's most recent report. About 1,700 exams were completed by Monroe Township High School students through our school. So obviously that's a very high number when you consider that our student enrollment lives right around 2,000. So that is a tremendous reflection of what our students are capable of and what they desire to do. A passing grade on the advanced placement exam is a score of 3 or higher, and of those 1,713 students, or exams, excuse me, that were completed, 84% of those exams received a passing grade, which is a tremendous return on, I'm not going to say investment, but you know what I mean. So our students are not just taking, you know, there was a sentiment back in the day that, oh, kids just want to take the class because they want to get the weighted GPA, blah, 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 but you can see that a Monroe Township High School student, when they go in and take the exam, they take it very seriously. So much so that you can see that 60% didn't just pass, but earned a score of a 4 or 5, with 5 being the highest, which again is a tremendous return and a testament to the work ethic of our students and obviously the work of our instructors. So a couple highlights from the first slide, you know, dealing with our electives. We offer AP opportunities in the fine performing arts and obviously in business education. The business education courses, you can see the total exams in advanced placement, microeconomics, and macroeconomics, 158 and 193 respectively. That is an incredible amount of students taking an advanced placement business exam, and you can see we score very, very well. When you consider the volume of students taking the exam versus the amount of students that are earning the credit, that means our students are doing a very nice job in those 2 exams, and those are 2 separate exams. Moving on into the humanities and world language, once again, I mean, some incredible returns here when you see in the ELA composition, it's getting late, but I can't read off the screen, but I'm pretty sure that says 96% and 100% respectively qualified in that content area. So outstanding. And then our AP capstone courses, which are part of our academies, offers our students opportunities to get into other types of collegiate disciplines that weren't traditionally available when we were in high school. But we do very well in those content areas as well. And for those programs being so new, to see our performance so high is very uncommon. And then, of course, world language, AP exam. Our students that elect to take those exams do quite well as well. And also many of our students, it should be worth mentioning, pursue the Seal of Biliteracy, which we'll talk again about at the end of the school year. This is, math is obviously one of the highlights of our district when it comes to AP performance. One of the most highly examined AP exams at the post-secondary level. You can see the Monroe students are very competitive when you consider the amount of exams taken and the amount of students that qualify out of the high school. Computer science, this is an area that we talked about last year a lot, particularly as it referred to access. I know that was a point of concern for the community historically, the amount how students could get access to this course. We were happy to report that last year, due to some structural changes, we were able to accommodate every student that wanted advanced placement computer science last year. And not only did we accommodate them, you can see that 71% of our students qualified and doing very well competitively to our peers at the state and national level. And that is, again, a program that is constantly in flux, and our teachers work year-round to stay current with that content. And then, of course, rounding out the humanities, our social studies performance also very voluminous and very good. The amount of exams, you look at APUSH, which is one of our more popular exams, 172 exams taken, and look at this qualifying rate and passing rate. So congratulations to the APUSH instructors. Finally, the sciences, probably arguably the most difficult courses offered at the high school. And you can see this is big game hunting when it comes to course selection. And many of our students will step up to the challenge, and they do quite well, particularly in the physics area. Outstanding work, and these are areas that we want to make sure that our students, if they want to take the challenge, they have the opportunity. So last year, we reported out that the Monroe Township High School received a bronze rating on the AP Honor Roll. This year, we were pleased to report that we were upgraded to a silver rating. Now, that is, obviously, we're very proud of that. We'd like to be gold, but I would like to just break down why we're silver and what it's going to take for gold. And it is my opinion that the categories that matter most are where we are already rated gold, and that would be in the amount of students that are earning college credit respective to the students taking the exam, and obviously college optimization. So our area of improvement, obviously we want to continue to maintain an endless progression of performance, but where the College Board thinks we need to improve to get us to that perfect gold rating across the board, all three areas, would be the percent of students that want to take an exam. So we still have some room to do with exam access, and not necessarily maybe access, but making sure our students realize that they have access to these exams, and maybe connecting students with an AP course that better meets their needs. So the College Board says we can improve in the area of connecting students with AP courses and getting more students taking AP courses, so we will work on that as a team. But more importantly, we are very pleased with the performance. We were very pleased that last year there were not students feeling like they missed out or that they were left out of an experience. And I think it's safe that Dr. Higgins and the Monroe Township High School has been off to a great start this school year between the Apple distinct designation and this significantly improved AP performance. So congratulations to Dr. Higgins, the Monroe Township High School faculty, and the students. And that concludes the AP report from last school year. This presentation will be available on the website tomorrow. So any questions?
Ms. Ratner?
Yep.
Mr. Zeichner, go ahead.
Just a quick question regarding the math advanced placement, the AP. 84% had a qualifying score, 60% had a score of 4 or 5. So 24% were approaching expectations. Would I be right in saying that?
You're looking at the total aggregate of math in its entirety?
No. I'm looking at the aggregate in terms of just the advanced placement.
So if I understand you correct. So for an example, because I can see how the chart may be difficult to read. Excuse me. So if we're using Calc AB,
I'm looking at this. I'm looking at
here.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. So if I understand your question correctly, this is looking at all of the exams given at the Monroe Township High School.
Right.
So out of the 1713, 84% of those exams were 3 or higher. of the 1713, 60% of those exams were 4 or 5 or higher. So what we did is we delineated the passing grade of a 3 from what is considered to be the exceptional grades of a 4 and 5, just so you can see that not only are we passing, but we're passing with style.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Radner?
Yep. So a question regarding, I guess, the AP exams when we consider the dual enrollment classes. Because if I remember when we were looking at that last slide about what we need in order to achieve gold status, it's additional students who are taking the exams. But my understanding, because I think we had discussed this earlier last year, is the AP classes, you have to follow very set criteria as opposed to dual enrollment, which, you know, is a college level course being taught at the high school, but then those students aren't necessarily taking an AP exam. I guess, is that something that we're looking at when trying to achieve the goal of moving from silver to gold to, I guess, I don't want to say solve it because we want to offer both, but realizing those students may have taken AP exams if we didn't offer the dual enrollment?
So that's an excellent question, and what it does is it brings us to a discussion of what, you know, maybe it brings us back to the discussion of a portrait of a graduate. Now, we could map I could sit with a freshman, or Dr. Catelli or any of the administration could sit with a freshman and map out a roadmap to get you as many AP courses as you can and drive up that college culture number. However, we do offer other exceptionally rigorous opportunities at the high school that have no affiliation with the AP program. Excuse me. An example of that might be the Entrex course that runs periodically at the high school, which is in partnership with Delaware. That is not an AP course, but it does earn college credit. On the other side of it, we have AP Computer Science Principles, which runs through our tech ed department, and that is part of a sequence course through Project Lead the Way, so whereas a student in that course could take the AP exam, but simultaneously earn dual credit from that network of partners. So the two opportunities are not necessarily mutually exclusive. The district has the opportunity, and so when we run an AP course, it's still a Monroe Township high school course. We write curriculum. We map our curriculum to the guidelines set forth by the College Board, but we make it Monroe's version of the course. So for example, our microeconomics course follows the guidelines of the College Board. However, when our curriculum designers write it, we design it with the Monroe student in mind. But we use the AP syllabi and foundation as our starting point. A student pursuing an AP course that happens to be in dual credit articulation with a post-secondary institution could in fact earn both. But there are some instances where there is a dual credit course that does not offer an AP exam. My guess is, based on some of the work we've been doing, is that those types of courses will continue to emerge as we form these partnerships. But back to the original question, what the student and really the high school and the district would have to ask itself is, what do we want to do? Do we want to drive up the college culture number to the point where we get the gold status, or do we want to continue designing programs that meet the needs of the Monroe learners? It's like teaching to the test or teaching to the kid. It's really, so we don't put a ton, well, I don't want to speak for everyone. When I look at this, those last two categories are very important. The first one's very important too, but I don't know if we want to build the foundation of our programs of studies by simply trying to crowbar kids into AP courses.
Right, just to follow up with that, are there courses where I guess students could opt in to take the AP exam even if it was not an AP course, or do you have to be enrolled in the AP course specifically in order to take? Ms. Bohr is nodding her head at me.
So there is a process and a prerequisite for a student to sit for an AP exam. So if they're not in a course, an AP course actively, and they want to take the AP exam for that course, they would then meet with the counselor, and eventually, if they appeal, they go to the administration. But there's a very clear guideline of having the adequate background to sit for the exam. And it could be summer course, or it could be a bunch of different things, and it's all outlined on the high school webpage. But what that does is it allows us to give access to the students that are currently enrolled in the course because we have, confined restraints and space restraints to have anybody sit for an exam. But it also maintains the integrity of the exam, right? So we wouldn't want somebody taking an AP physics exam if they just finished bio, right? And they have no AP, no physics background at all. So that's really what this kind of comes down to.
But something along the lines of the Delaware, like dual enrollment course where they might be covering at a similar level. I don't want to speak to that when I don't know it.
Whatever AP exam we offer, if a student has the adequate meets the prerequisites, and we have the space, right? They can sit for the exam, and that again they go through a process to do that. Now, we are not required to do that. It's something that we offer because we want to encourage our students, as many as possible, to take an exam, but we also want to have a standard for students who sit for the exam and a prerequisite and a baseline. College Boards does not require us to be an open site for AP exams.
Ms. Bora?
I just have a comment. Dr. Lehman, Mr. Maralda, you know how anxiously I'd been waiting for this report. In my opinion, performance, and not just my opinion, according to College Board, when it comes to performance, we are gold standard. It's just about, and we're almost there with how many children are taking it, and we can't force our students to take it, but we are providing the opportunity. With changing graduation credits that allows our students to take more subjects that they're going to pursue in their future, we'll probably in the coming few years see more students take higher rigor courses in areas that they want to pursue a career in. So I'm very hopeful maybe this year, maybe next year we'll be gold standard by there, even with the college culture. I was just curious, you probably already know what percentage of our graduating class is enrolled this year, right? Would we already know if we are meeting their benchmark for this year with graduating class? So percentage of students in the graduating class who took an AP. So that needs to be 65%. That's really high.
Yeah, I mean, that's the next, it shows you there. We have to hit
65%. We were at 51 last year. We were at 51 last year. So do we know how close we are to 65%?
I can certainly reach out to the high school. I don't know it offhand.
And it's only that they take it, right? It doesn't require them to pass or, meet the 2 or 3. As long as 65% of the graduating class has taken one in the last 4 years, 4 years of high school.
So we would have who took one so far, but then they'll include the senior class who would take it this year as well. So we wouldn't necessarily know who. Well, they're signing up to take the exam now, but
right by October 18th.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed. You never know. It could be this year. It could be next year or the year after. But I think we're so close. So congratulations. This is improvement over last year. We're moving closer to the student success that we're all, wanting to achieve in the district. So this is great. Thank you very much. Great report.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yeah, I also want to compliment the administration. I think you've done a really great job. I mean, the report is great. It's showing that we're moving forward. I especially like those programs with the AP courses for the kids. I love programs like that where kids who are really bright can self-select, get into the programs, and they're performing so exceptionally well on that. I mean, it shows a lot for the school. I will say this also, that there's always room for improvement. We all agree with that. We can always look and keep moving those students and pushing them. And to a point where we as educators know how much stress, when it becomes too much, we should know at that point and back off. But still, these students can do a lot more expectation, but they're getting there. They really are. And again, wonderful job. Really, congratulations.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, and again, to echo Mr. Zeichner, thank you for that. Another comprehensive report, and well done with congratulations to our students and our staff. It's really a job well done. Thank you. Dr. Chanley, you're next.
So good evening, everyone. And normally I take long, and Dr. Lehman does not. So we switch roles this evening. So I will be fairly expedient, but I did want to start off by acknowledging that this past Monday we did have Columbus Day and Indigenous Peoples Day. I think it's important to notate our history and although we were in school for an early dismissal day, there were a voluminous amount of activities that go on in various different schools. Our student board members do such an exceptional job, they steal my thunder all the time. I am dressed in hot pink from head to toe with all of our acknowledgement for October being Breast Cancer Awareness. We do a fabulous job here in the district. In all of the schools, we have a very large fundraiser called the Mama Mayor that's been going on here for many, many years. We're very proud of the fundraisers that we do, and it's very important to acknowledge, cancer of any kind is something that has probably affected everyone in one way or another, whether it be a family member or a closest friend, and we're always excited when they triumph, but too many times they do not. So I think it is very important to acknowledge this particular month. We also started off this month with me wishing everybody for the upcoming holiday. It was the Jewish holiday of Rosh Hashanah, and then it ends with Yom Kippur, so we say Lashana Tova, we bring in the new year, and it's very important because I like balance, that we will end this month with Diwali, which allows us to bring in the light. So we're bringing in the new year, and then we end by bringing in the light. So I want to wish all those that celebrate the Diwali celebration and holiday well wishes. We will be closed for that holiday, and that is on November 1st, and that will then start our week that we happen to be lucky enough this year. We're looking at the calendar, may not happen next year, but we're doing our very best to see how the calendar falls. So I did want to say that because you won't see us again to the latter part of November, so I did want to acknowledge those holidays and the meanings to whomever may celebrate. And regardless of what you celebrate, we all celebrate newness, celebration of commencement, and we all celebrate light. I can't imagine anybody that wouldn't. I had the pleasure, for many of you know, I'm a big gallivanter. I go to all the schools all the time, and I was very, very excited to be able to participate in various different things. The high school started off one of their great in-service days on this past Monday with the winning culture, and it's called Capturing Student Hearts. It's an opportunity for the staff. I did go and I did participate. We had a speaker come in, and the staff members really had an opportunity to hear from an outsider who was an educator the understanding of how it has to always be culture. Culture is a big thing for all of us. We believe that when we use letters like SEL, but it means social emotional learning. You can't get kids to learn on an academic level if they don't feel safe, loved, happy, healthy, wanted, good socialization. So that was something that we always say it starts at the top. Well, it starts with the teachers. Starts with the staff. So that was an incredible opportunity. Prior to that, a couple of weeks ago, I got to go to a pep rally once again in the high school, and I'm always giving out kudos to the middle school because it's something that I know because I lived it, but now I have an opportunity to give out kudos to the high school as well. They did an incredible pep rally. I've been going for years, even when I was at the middle school, and the pep rally was just, you could feel the excitement of the children. And we're so excited also because we have such an incredible unified program that when you look at the pep rally, which happens before a homecoming game, we see the participation of all children, and that's so very important in this district and so very important to us. Lastly, we can, they stole my thunder, but I did also go to the Avid Signing Day, where the children basically take the pledge of moving forward with their expectations of moving. Mr. Zeichner said something like this, we're good, but we want to be great. We're going to move forward and how good we're doing. And the Avid program, Advancement by Individual Determination, is an incredible program, and a lot of the structure, a lot of the best practices are utilized in all classes, regardless of whether or not you happen to be an Avid child. So we did have Robbinsville come, as was shared by the students. It's not the first time that we've had other districts visit us, so I was able to participate. So it was just an incredible week, incredible weeks, I should say, and an incredible month. So on that note, we'll get down to business. And I always start off with our retirements. This year, or rather this month, getting ahead of myself. This page? Oh, thank you. I know who they are. I just memorized. There we go. So I'm going to go backwards from least to most. So we have 3 people that are leaving us to fly the coop onto bigger and better and enjoy their time as they've worked very hard in different capacities for our children. We have Miss Sandra Cormie, who's a teacher of grade 1. I believe she's at Mill Lake. 28 years in education. We wish her well on her next endeavor. We wish her health and happiness, and we always wish everybody peace. Next, we have a driver. We always say all different facets, right? It takes a village. So our driver, Regina Martica, driver for 29 years. I can't even imagine 29 years driving our children back and to and from school. It's a big deal. And lastly, and I was able to celebrate her on our opening ceremony. Dr. Michelle Cortelli has spent, in this district alone, not to mention she came from another district, 40 years in Monroe Township School District giving back to our children. So I wish them all health, prosperity, and really wonderful time with family members and friends on their next endeavor in their lives. So, now down to business. Okay. Under personnel for a 10-member vote, it is recommended the board approve the attached personnel items A through O.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Alvarez, second by Ms. Bora. Ms. Allen, can we have a roll call?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Bora?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Dr. Peck?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Under personnel for a 9-member vote, it's recommended the board approve the attached personnel items P through AQ.
Motion.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to ask if there were any questions on the last agenda item before we took a roll call vote.
I'll save all my questions for later.
Okay. Are there any questions? Wait, motion by Mr. Tufano, second by Ms. Bora. Are there any questions on personnel 9-member vote? No. Okay, now can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Bora?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Under a 10-member vote for board action, it is recommended the board approve the attached board action items A through O.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Tufano, second by Ms. Ratner. Are there any questions? Ms. Bora?
I did ask this earlier, but I just realized that I didn't get complete clarity. Item F, the JAMF software, I know you responded, Dr. Lehman, saying it's a curriculum software, but what is it used for?
It manages devices throughout the district. It
you
allows
did-
for
you did give me that
remote,
answer, so.
remote updates and
Okay.
managing
yeah.
and, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other? Ms. Ratner?
Yep, just a quick question about the calendar revision, which I understand we changed it due to the budget changes. Because we are not having a meeting in April, I know this past year we had discussed the timeline for employee renewal. Will that, I guess the ones that were supposed to be done in April will be done in May or in March?
Okay.
Or-
So I'm going to speak, I've already spoken to make sure that that it works for her schedule. So I will sit with Ms. Christie, our Director of Human Resources, and there will be people that will be approved in March, and then there'll be people that will be approved in May. The May meeting being moved, and we do appreciate, I know I had that in my confidentials, and we did an exhaustive conversation over and over again to really look at making sure we met the requirements of statutes, but at the same time, it would be silly to have a meeting, a committee meeting, a meeting. It doesn't make any sense. So statute-wise, we are allowed to not have the meeting. So yes, everything will follow code and statute, and where appropriate, I will confirm with her that we have all of our ducks in a row, evaluations and so forth, and then we would have things in March, and then we would have things in May.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Other questions? Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Bora?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Dr. Peck?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes, recuse on letter A for Mr. Snyder.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, for board action, under a 9-member vote, it is recommended the board approve the attached board action items P through U.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Ms. Bora and second by Ms. Ratner. Are there any questions? Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Bora?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes.
That now concludes the superintendent's report, and I wish everyone health and happiness in the upcoming holiday.
Next item on our agenda is our business administrator's report.
It is recommended that board action items A through H be approved by consent roll call under a 10-member vote.
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pirro, second, Mr. Tufano, second by Ms., who seconded?
I second.
Oh, Ms. Bora.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
Just a quick acknowledgement, thanking the PALS Learning Center for becoming a district sponsor for the robotics program. That's all.
Sorry.
Not a question, sorry.
Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes, recuse on items related to the learning tree, letter B.
Okay. Ms. Bora?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Dr. Peck?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes, recuse on letter A, and then recuse on the bill list addendum for C02467 and C02381.
Okay. Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes, recuse on letter A1.
Motion passes. It is recommended that board action item I be approved by consent roll call under a 9-member vote.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Tufano, second by Mr. Zeichner.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
I'll thank Ms. Wazowski for the donation of the pianos. I think it was Dr. Lehman who said it's my responsibility at the last meeting.
Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Bora?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. The next item is our board president's report. I just have a brief statement here. So I would like to once again congratulate our students and staff who received awards this evening for their volunteer service over the past few months. Your dedication to your fellow community members deserve to be acknowledged and appreciated. The board continues to collaborate with the community and administration. It was a wonderful experience last week at our first Citizens Advisory Committee meeting. I, and I'm sure we all are, looking forward to the positive discussions and contributions that will come out of this committee. I'd like to just take a moment to thank the board and administration for their commitment to working together. Your efforts are not unnoticed, and I, for one, appreciate the time you are all volunteering for the betterment of our district. I would like to wish those that are attending the NJSBA conference next week a meaningful and enjoyable workshop. I wish that I could attend. However, I have to work. I have parent-teacher conferences next week, so I'm looking forward to hearing all about what you've learned. Dr. Chanley covered all of the holidays, so I do hope everybody has a happy Halloween, safe Halloween, enjoy trick-or-treating, don't eat too much candy, and wishing those who celebrate a very happy Diwali. May light always triumph over darkness. That concludes my report. The next item is our other board business. Are there any board members wishing to?
She can go first if she wants. Oh.
Gail?
Oh, yes. On October 7th, I attended the Middlesex County School Boards Association county meeting. It was held at the Grand Marquis in Old Bridge. Sharon Miller, who's the president from South Plainfield, called the meeting to order. We had greetings from Shanta Jackson, Vice President for Legislation Resolutions for MJSBA. Lee Woo Hung from East Brunswick. He always reports on the Board of Directors updates. He attends that for Middlesex County. There was an update on the NJSBA Workshop 2024 team by Samantha Mathias. She was on screen explaining all the wonderful things that are going to be happening down at School Boards Association. We have a new senior field service rep. Actually, she called herself a recycled senior. She had been a senior, she had been a rep for Monroe, she said years ago. Mary Ann Friedman, lovely lady. I have a lot of paperwork that she put out there. I gave some out already. And then also we had a presentation by Dr. Herb Paluzzi, who is the Supervisor of Educational Technology for East Brunswick Public School District, and it was on AI, empowering educators. It was very interesting. I can't repeat all the stuff that he said on AI because I'm just getting into it myself. It's just wonderful that's coming down the pike. But I do have a website that he gave. If anybody's interested in going on it to get the presentation, it's ai center. Or you could call him there. He said he's welcome any calls from anybody from any district, and he was a great presenter. So people are just looking forward to meeting each other down at the school board's convention. And our next meeting is December 12th. We will be having, we don't know where it is at the moment, but we're having a superintendent speak, a board member from his district, and I think a BA, I'm not sure which one, on what school board members can and know about the process of putting a budget together. That seemed to be a question that we all had been asking over the past few years. I know I was. I felt like I was left out of some of the discussions and wasn't able to vote properly. So we have somebody coming to discuss with us what we can and should ask and know about putting a budget together. So that'll be December 12th. The place is to be determined. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gail. Yes, East Brunswick does have a full website devoted to AI. It's kind of where we've all been directed to look and learn.
Yeah, he spoke about it, what grade levels and what things he did and how he did it. He was the camaraderie with him, with the people, was very nice. He went around, but his presentation was fantastic. So if you need to, go on his website or call him. He's willing to answer any questions, and it was a great meeting, so thank you.
Ms. Bora.
Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Payne. I would certainly check that out because that's become one of our goals too now.
Yeah.
I just had a few quick comments. One, I did want to acknowledge the Piles Learning Center for the robotics donation and Ms. Bozowski for the piano donation. We appreciate anything and everything that our community members can donate. Time, money, equipment, we appreciate it all. I wanted to take a quick second to, because I'm always the one mentioning this, and this time is almost kind of a positive update. For years, our high school enrollment numbers have gone up. They've inched up slowly and steadily. This is the first year that I'm seeing in the last almost a decade. It's only down by 30, but our enrollment numbers are down in the high school this year, and I just wanted to make a public note of it. I am excited for the workshop next week. I'm signed up for all the AI sessions for sure, besides everything else. And I wanted to also wish all the community members celebrating Diwali a happy, prosperous New Year to those who are celebrating Diwali as well. Thank you, everyone.
Ms. Ratner.
Yep, I will piggyback on that. And I will say one of the things that I really love about our community is the diversity and learning of all the different holidays that everyone celebrates. Ms. Bora, I know we've discussed this. Tonight's actually, it's not a major holiday, the first night of Sukkot, though, which is a really fun holiday for those who observe Judaism. It's all about eating meals together and communicating. And while it's certainly not a wholly religious holiday, it's one of my favorites because of what it represents. But for those who celebrate Diwali and anything else that maybe we aren't aware of, because there's a lot of different religions out there, it's certainly exciting to learn about all of those things. I am excited to attend some of our district events that are coming up. Unfortunately, I cannot attend workshop this year. This is my first year being on the board that I'm unable to attend. But I do wish everyone a great time. I'm excited to go to the, I know Dr. Chanley spoke about Mama Mare, the Haunted High School, which is next Wednesday, I believe. I think it's on the 23rd. I'm excited to go with that. My kids absolutely adore the event. It's 2 hours. The high school kids do a fantastic job of putting out different games for them to play and collecting candy. And I think this year there's a combination with the Unified program.
I was going to say that. So just to let you know, I spoke with Mr. Arcaro and himself and Mr. Roldan and Mr. Ruello happened to also be here. We talked about really bringing the inclusion together. I went last year as well, and they did a great job with Unified Day, but we just felt like, it should really be all together. So he reached out to me. We had a meeting about it last week, and it's going to be all together this year. So I won't be able to be there because I will be in Atlantic City, but I am excited to see how it goes.
I'll update next month on
That'd be
it.
great.
I'm also excited to go to the Monroe History Night tomorrow, and then I'll also be attending the 6th grade play with my Girl Scout troop as our meeting for that week. I definitely would say for my fellow board members, whenever you can, I happen to go to a fair amount of events because of the age of my children, but whatever you can go to support, it's great to support our students and staff, sort of learn what we're doing and why we're doing it. Also just to sort of understand some of the challenges we're talking about, like at the BGTS meeting last week, we discussed the gap in the bleachers, and sure enough, the next day I went to the football game, and I saw someone's phone fall through, and then I saw something else fall through, and I said, oh, I see what we're talking about. So it's definitely, very worthwhile to go out there and, really just reminds us why we do what we do. And I believe that is everything. Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments? Okay, then we're going to move on to our public forum. Any member of the public that is wishing to speak, you have 4 minutes to do so. Please come up and state your name and municipality for the record. Are there no members of the public wishing to speak? Okay, seeing none. Can we just write down the date?
Yes.
I can go up there and talk if you want.
No, we're done. So the next item on our agenda is nothing. The next scheduled Board of Education meeting is November 20th, 2024, 6:15 for the board, 7:15 for the public here. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Alvarez, second by Ms. Ratner. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
And also, like to just say to everybody,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.